today, this very day, I turned 65. Yeah. But there is another thing I need to tell you, because this is a very special day for me, because we have a Hebrew calendar. Yes? Well, we Jews, we have to do all the troubles we can, we have to do. So a Hebrew calendar, and very rarely the Hebrew calendar coincides with the Gregorian calendar. And today it coincides. So today, my Hebrew date is my Gregorian date are the same. So I'd like to have somehow give you some background so you know a little bit about me, because the experience of my life has been very, in my view, very unique. You don't find this kind of connection in many things. So the infrastructure, I'm a mechanical engineer in profession. I have a first degree and second degree in mechanical engineering. My PhD is in information systems, in GIS. And my recent years, I work a lot on cybersecurity, not only on water, but also on water, but and critical infrastructure. But and I also have experience as a security defense officer, as an infantry officer of the IDF. So I'm a colonel of the IDF as well, and I deal with national security, not cybersecurity, and overall national security and military aspects, military and strategic affairs aspects, and a variety of what we call hard security, intelligence, and a variety of this kind of aspects of life. So this gives me a very nice perspective on a variety of issues, including the water issue and critical infrastructure. I cannot separate water from energy, because water supply and treatment goes very close to energy management, to environmental issues, and you cannot separate them two. Last year in June, I think, last year, Iran have managed to penetrate to some of the water systems in Israel. We know with those chlorine to kill bacteria, you know, and tried to manipulate the chlorine dosage of about six plants. First of all, they managed to penetrate. They managed to penetrate, even if we think that the Israeli system, blah, 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 we think it, but they managed. They are very sophisticated. And try to manipulate the dosage of chlorine, and even manipulate it. But because when you have good practice design, you don't rely on only one control system. You have a variety of controlling systems, so you don't, you know, when you build a pressure tank. So you don't put only a pressure gauge and you say, okay, this when the pressure is up, I know from the gauge. Because if the gauge doesn't work, what will happen? You also put on top of it physical relief valve, you know, yes? Consequently, because of, you know, I can only say, because what I read in foreign papers, a week after this happened, the Iranian port in Bandar Abbas was blocked for 1 week. Okay? I don't know who's behind it. The risks are there. This is a political risk, okay? This is a political risk, a state aggression, Iran aggression. But now we see not only political risk, we see a mixture between political risks and criminal risks. You know, money talks. They make, if any one of you wants to become a cyber criminal, I'm sure if he wants to do it, he will make a lot of money. The chances for him to be caught are minor, and he has a good life. Yeah, there is an opportunity for you if you want. There is never be assured that you do, well, you may do 100%, it's never 100% defense, never. We have a saying in the Israeli Defense Forces. We have two sayings, I'll tell them two. One saying is, your defense line will always be penetrated, whatever you do. Never think that you have a defense and you can rest assured, never. Your defense line will be penetrated by a determined rival, the legitimate enemy. Always put it in your mind. And the second thing we say, which for you is exactly, we say, if you want to screw your boss, do exactly what he told you. Very let's say, hype now is with ransomware. What does ransomware do? We all know, yes? They manage to get into your system, they encrypt their system, sometimes they even steal sensitive data if you have, and ask you for money if you want to release. Of course, normally, if you are hit with the ransomware and you did not take any measures before, pray. What can you do? Just each one to their own God and say, well, and it can be a catastrophe. One of the main services I provide is crisis management, because this kind of crisis that happens in an organization where the data is outside and they cannot work, and they did nothing before to prepare. This is a big crisis. Be prepared, because the crisis management, preparing for a crisis management also looks at the gap analysis of the problems you have and try to close these gaps, and at least you are well prepared for something that will happen. And it's so, when you are dealing with this kind of threat, we have the IT systems, yes? Your management, your salaries. Well, you know, what happens if you don't get a salary? You will get it in 2 weeks because there was a problem. Okay. But if you go down to the operational system, this is a big problem. Very big problem. If I can manage to penetrate your operational system and do whatever I want to do, I'll tell you, I don't know, you tell me. The operators of the plant, they work 24/7. Sometimes the manager goes at home. Does he have access with the cellular phone to the SCADA system or to whatever access he has? Am I right? They have access, I know, because nobody wants to, every call, I need to go back at 2 a.m., there's a problem, I take my car. No, I want to look at my computer. Big, big problem. Big problem. Create a large vulnerability, variety of vulnerabilities that you have to mitigate and find ways to reduce these vulnerabilities. Some of which, not all of them, is by buying a technology device. No. On the contrary, most of them, trying to solve this, to reduce this vulnerability, the cost for you will be zero. Because most of them is only by procedural good behavior, okay? If I say now, no more private use on any of the computers in my water facility, does it cost anything? Yeah, of course, the cost, because the employees, they say they are not happy and blah, 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 blah. But if I enforce that, you know how much did I reduce the risk? Dramatically. And the cost, zero cost. There are a variety of actions you can do. You know, I give you another example. If there is a problem with some valve that's not open, blah, blah, and we call the operator at home, instead of him having a constant linkage, why don't we say, okay, he says, okay, now open it for me for 2 minutes. I see and close it back. In my view, and this is my experience, the main effort is not a technological effort. Technology is very important, very, very important. I would not undermine technology, but the main risks are, you know, cyber is a human issue. And the main risks are generated by human behavior, human procedures, how we behave, how we do. So I would invest, I always give this example, if I have a 100% budget, I would invest 80% in procedures, in educating the employees, in, you know, a variety of things that I can do, and 20% I will put in technology.
You know, normally we read lots of books, and when we try to apply, the book in your company never works. I think cybersec is like the same. if I was Aguas, the Gaia, how I can implement the system?
How can you do what?
Implement the system, the cybersec. What is the first step?
Think
Think big. Think.
I'll tell you the first step. Okay? If you read the book, it's very simple. I answer now. Well, it's very simple. The first step is say, Gabi, please send me a contract. Rival decides to hit Portugal or Spain or whatever. They go to the weakest point, and you are one of the weakest points in the chain of critical infrastructure. And you have to do whatever you can to make sure that when they come to Portugal, they say, oh, we have a problem, let's continue in Spain. Not, it's credibility. Most of my clients, I come and I say, look, we need to scan your employees to see who is sitting in a critical position, and we want to check the credibility of the employees. There is a variety of ways to check credibility. And we do it on a random basis. We can do it on a yearly basis. We can do it a variety of ways. But this is very important to make sure that everybody knows that is subject to, credibility. I work with the, security forces. I have to go to polygraph. You go to a polygraph. I don't know if ever anyone went to a polygraph. When you go to a polygraph, this is a very unpleasant experience. You immediately think that you are a liar or what, because you begin to sweat, you begin to, such is life. And from this threat, I know that I'm always very careful because I have the polygraph here. I'm always very careful what I say, to whom I talk, what I'm, so if you don't have this threat, I don't do, I don't think, even if I have goodwill, but I don't do it. So also with credibility and awareness of the employees. And okay? Yes? Thank you very much.